What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video for my YouTube channel, and it's a 2025-2026 NBA Finals prediction video for Game 1 between the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs. The last time I did a video based on the NBA or basketball in general was sometime in mid-2021. But that's neither here or there. I figure I'd try and get my predictions out there for Game 1 tonight, and I wanted to get this video out there before sometime before the game starts. So here it goes. A little backstory as far as the finals this year. This is a rematch from the 1998-1999 NBA season. When this season took place, I was in my third grade year of elementary school. That's how long ago this was. And when the San Antonio Spurs ended up beating the New York Knicks in mid-1999, I was 10 and a half years old at the time it happened. Now I'm 37 and a half years old, and I'm watching the San Antonio Spurs and the New York Knicks face off again in the NBA Finals. A lot has changed in the 27 years since these two teams last met in the NBA Finals. But that's another story for another time. But here it goes. To say that the Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs are gonna party like it's mid-1999, that's an understatement. Because for all I know, San Antonio could end up pulling off a sweep like what they did in mid-1999, or this could go a full 7 games. Who knows? But I think as far as one of the things to keep an eye out for as far as the overall atmosphere of this game, it's going to be the crowd. The crowd at the Frost Bank Center is going to be electric, and at the same time, it might get into the psyche of the New York Knicks, even though they've had a little bit of extra time to prepare for the winner of the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs after defeating the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, to be fair to the New York Knicks, they weren't just kicking back, relaxing, watching TV, playing video games, and eating potato chips while the series between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs were going on. They were training, they were practicing, they were studying film, and they were keeping an eye on who they were going to be facing off against. So they didn't just beat the Cleveland Cavaliers and slough off or anything. They were in full-on preparation mode, I'd be willing to bet, as far as if anything going on in terms of Game 1. If they can drown out the crowd. If they can drown out the crowd, focus on the San Antonio Spurs, and maybe try and pull off a win in Game 1, then they might have that going for them and going into Game 2. But again, the game hasn't even started yet, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens then. But as far as matchups go, as much as I'd love to see guys such as Manu Ginobili, George the Iceman Gervin, Pau Gasol, Artis the A-Train Gilmore, Tony Parker, Dennis Rodman, Bruce Bowen, Tim the Big Fundamental Duncan, and David the Admiral Robinson suit up and take the court against the New York Knicks and help out the likes of Devin Vassell, De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, and Victor Wembanyama, and Kelly Olynyk, for example. It would be great. Just some of those guys on the roster right there, you can already pretty much etch it in stone and say that the San Antonio Spurs are going to win it all just because of some of those names in the lineup. But on the flip side, for the New York Knicks, you could also say Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and Karl Anthony Towns. They're looking to get some reinforcements in the form of guys like Patrick Ewing, Derrick Rose, Dave Derbyshire, Latrell Sprewell, Amari Stoudemire, Joakim Noah, Willis Reed, and Walt Clyde Frazier for one of a few examples. Maybe some of those guys, for example, on the roster, they'd be able to suit up, take the court, and help the New York Knicks win a championship for the first time since the 1972-1973 NBA season. But that's another story for another time, though. Now going into San Antonio, though, some of the investments that they made before the playoffs, such as Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper, they already seem like home runs, and especially the deal that was made with the Sacramento Kings in early February of this year. I think it was February 3rd or 2nd or something, whenever it was, for De'Aaron Fox to get out of the Sacramento area, getting off the Kings roster and going on to the San Antonio Spurs. That was a well-timed accelerator in my book because with San Antonio, even looking at the roster on paper, they've gotten a lot of things right with this roster. They've got it right. Yet, you could say that the vast majority of the credit goes to Victor Wembanyama. I don't think so, simply because, he's not, he might not be a one-man band, but he's not, as they say in baseball, a five-tool player. He's not, he's not on that scale, or just generally speaking, like a one-man band where he carries the workload, and he's where we are because he does 95 to 99.5% of the work. But number one's one of the most intimidating players in the NBA right now, and he's seemingly on course to become one of the most impactful players ever, not just in the NBA, but also in the history of the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, especially what he does on the court, he's amazing. He's amazing. I mean, he's able to change. He changes the overall geometry on the court. He stretches the realm of possibilities on both ends of the floor, and especially with his height, he's 7 foot and 4.25 inches, or almost 4.5 inches. I mean, in terms of the height, he's almost like in terms of height, he's like the Andre the Giant of the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, he's one tall dude. But going back to the San Antonio Spurs, though, as a whole, they're effectively built to go as far as Wembanyama can take them. So the team's going to give number one every opportunity that they can to lead the team. Excuse me, and I think game one is going to be the perfect example. I mean, game number one, leave it to number one. Let's see what happens afterwards, depending on what the final score is. But will he do it? Can he do it? I think so. I'm confident in his abilities. Now, I'm not going to come on here and say that Victor Wembanyama is he's the second coming of Tim Duncan, or the next best center since Artis Gilmore and or David Robinson. As great as a comparison as that would be, and being compared to guys like that, as great as that is, I'm not gonna come out here and say that. I'm not gonna come here and look you in the eyes and say, Victor Wembanyama is the next best thing since Tim Duncan, or he's gonna, he's the Artis Gilmore of the present day NBA, this present day San Antonio Spurs roster. He may find himself in great company amongst those guys one day, but Victor Wembanyama is looking to cement his own legacy. Will he get his number one retired one day? Will he end up going into the Naismith Hall of Fame, or both? I think so. He's probably on the fast track of getting one of those or both of those things accomplished this year, for all I know. But we'll worry about that when the time comes. But going back to Victor Wembanyama, though, he was handled with kid gloves in the past by the San Antonio Spurs organization, but that's all out the window now. Everything's on the line, especially in this, especially in the NBA Finals. I mean, you've made it this far. Now what do you do? you have pieces around you where you can hopefully win another championship for the first time since the 2013-2014 season. Again, speaking of Tim Duncan, when he was on the roster, I think that was the last championship that he won was in mid 2014. That was 12 years ago. But nevertheless, though, Victor Wembanyama was featured like never before in the Western Conference Finals against the Oklahoma City Thunder. He played approximately 38 minutes per game and averaged about 18 or 19 shots. I think the actual statistic was, I think it was 18 and a half points, or 18 and a half shots, I'm sorry. But it feels like if those numbers change now, they're just going to continue to climb. I mean, for Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs as a whole, the sky's the limit. But as far as Victor Wembanyama goes, the New York Knicks have to try and they have to do any and all things that they can to stand in his way and stop him at every any and all cost to make sure that his numbers don't change and his stats don't go up. Key matchups for this game. If you're a San Antonio Spurs fan, keep an eye out for Karl Anthony Towns because, especially when it comes to his passing and he's in the and when he's in the post, especially in the deep post, or when he's foul line extended, he's more of a facilitator in that spot. When he has his back to the basket, he plays more of a facilitator role, and he can see over the defense, and when he does have a basketball in his hands, you gotta keep an eye out for him because he takes it to the basket and he takes it hard. And this guy's a monster. But for the New York Knicks, on the other hand, if you're a New York Knicks fan, you need to keep an eye out for a guy like Stephon Castle. This is kind of a crazy comparison, but it's the best one I've got. Stephon Castle, to me, he's like I like to think of him as like the Derrick Rose of the San Antonio Spurs because of his defensive abilities and his overall athleticism, respectively. And Stephon Castle is not one to be taken lightly. But albeit the New York Knicks are favorites, I want to say by 4.5 points or 3.5 points. The last I looked, I don't remember when it was. I want to say it was a day and a half ago or so. I looked at as far as different point spreads and who the favorite was. When you go to 10 different places, you get 10 different point spreads. I want to say it was the New York Post. I looked at the betting odds as far as predictions that they had for what they had at the time in terms of their respective predictions and who was going to win and what the final score was. I want to say it was on the New York Post. They had the New York Knicks as favorites at 4.5 points. Should the New York Knicks win, I don't think it's going to be by 5 points or more. I think it's going to be by a score of between 1 and 4. Should they win? But that being said, I'm taking the San Antonio Spurs, not just because they're at home, but I think if they can hold home court advantage in Game 1 and pull off a surprise win, they'll be in good company going into Game 2. But home crowd, home court advantage, home crowd. I guess a home crowd advantage, if that's even such a thing. Overall preparation, how that's going to affect things in the long run. I honestly don't know. I really can't come on here and say, yeah, ask me who I think's going to win. I have no idea. But I'm not going to break it down bit by bit and say according to the analytics and the statistics and so on and so forth of this website, that website, and the third, you need to pay attention to this, and this, and keep an eye out for so and so because of whatever. I'd be here all day and I'd be doing a 2.5 hour long video on a prediction for a postseason basketball game. It wouldn't turn out very well. that being said, let me know who you think's going to win Game 1. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and when and or if I'm able to get around to doing a video for Game 2, then I'll get around to posting one. If not, then maybe Games 3, and if need be, 4, 5, 6, and 7. But we'll see what happens then. In the meantime, subscribe back to my YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. Follow me on Instagram, and take care of yourselves and each other, in the words of the great late Jerry Springer. And take it easy. With the NBA Finals at the forefront right now, may the best team win. If you're a New York Knicks fan and you're watching this, then hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you're a San Antonio Spurs fan and you're watching this, hopefully you enjoy it. And if you're a casual NBA fan who doesn't really have any favorite team or teams, let me know what you think. Let me know who you think's going to win, what all's going to happen, and we'll just go from there. So in the meantime, that does it for me. I'm out, and take it easy.